Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Greetings and salutations. The long-awaited beginning of the Astroyappp is over. The wait is over. We have arrived, and now I am here to yap at you for an indeterminate amount of time that will not cease until I feel like I'm finished. So, grab something to drink, get something to eat, listen up. I've got lots to say. So, to be completely transparent, I tried this already once and it did not work. Not today, but before. And what I did was I yapped a lot, but I didn't even like the yap because it wasn't consistent. So I didn't really consider before what I was going to talk about, but thankfully, I've considered what I'm going to talk about today. So that's great. So, let's get moving. How are we doing? It's a new year. I haven't been anywhere. I haven't been posting, but I'm now making this out of the blue. Why is that happening? Oh, well, shit. Everything is finally moving forward. What do I mean by that? I don't know if you realize or not. This is me yapping for either my friends who know me and don't want to listen to me, or don't want to listen to me and will listen to this as in like they get their spark notes of all the astrology bullshit in one local place, so then I have no excuse to yell at them about things going on. But also, you may not know me and you may not understand, but you're coming for the astrology stuff. So if you have been under a rock and not in the astrology world, you may or may not have known that literally everything has been in retrograde for fucking ever as of right now. What do I mean? I'm saying that like literally since September, we have had Mars in the same zodiac signs. Since January, Mercury and Venus, similar story. And now, not that they're out of them, but they're moving forward. So what am I exactly talking about? Retrograde. What is a retrograde? Basically, a retrograde is where the planet appearing to Earth will go backwards, no planets actually go backwards. They just appear that way to us, but then they have an effect where things kind of go a little awry in that part of the sky and what those planets represent. So Mars being the planet of action, getting things done has never been harder. Venus, the planet of pleasure, which has been in retrograde, literally realizing that everything that in your life that you thought you loved and appreciated, you actually don't. And now you're realizing that, and it's like, oh, I hate it here. How do I change this? And then Mercury just not being able to function, like to express yourself, but also taking a mental minute to reassess the area and the surroundings that you have and how to move forward and communicate that in an effective way by the time you hit, the Kazemi middle point, the light bulb moment of these retrogrades, and do something about it. So the great news is everything is stationed direct, so we are now moving forward. Things are changing. It's moving slow, but yeah. Let me take a breath and have a drink. For every single yap, there will be some wine on the side. And right now, I'm having a casual Josh Cabernet. That's all I need in my life, honestly. On a Sunday night, after a long week and weekend, that's all I really needed was some of this. So, excuse me, you can have something yourself. All that stuff I just said was not really what I came here to talk about, but it's part of the app. And so you just bear with me. So what did I want to talk about? I kind of wanted to make a riff on something. So basically we have a lot of big planets moving into new zodiac signs. And if you're new to this stuff, that's a big deal. That doesn't happen very often. And I want to focus today on Neptune. Neptune is a planet that rules illusion, cinema, aggrandization. That's a word I made up. Or aggrandizing, idolizing, things like that. People who, when Neptune is like working, doing its thing, people are really delulu. That's the thing. And it's funny that phrase would come up when Neptune was in Pisces, because like that was really delusional. So what am I going to talk about today is, so I mentioned cinema, television, all that jazz. That is ruled because it's like a false reality. That's the big one that I neglected to say. Reality is a part of Neptune. So, anywho, with the different kinds of zodiac signs that exist, the 12, there are different things that come to the forefront of what's important and what we think we need to do and what is reality that is being challenged. What do we view as reality that may not actually be? What are we romanticizing that is questionable? But anywho, we had an ingress recently at the end of March. Neptune was in Pisces from 2011 to now, and it'll go back for a little bit here soon, but it was there, and it moved right into the sign of Aries. Now, Neptune in Pisces, I think it's so interesting. And the reason I honestly made this first podcast is because I was obsessed with a show called Severance. And many people were obsessed with the show Severance. I'm certainly not alone in that. I don't know many people that didn't watch Severance and didn't like Severance. It was a fantastic show. I hadn't watched it. I just recently got into it this season, so I crammed it all in, so I was obsessed. I thought it was so interesting that at the tail end of Neptune and Pisces, that everyone was obsessed with this show. Why do I think it's interesting? Because everything comes down to proving this belief system of astrology, and that's what I think makes it so interesting, is because it's like, wow, that can be really literal. So what is it about Severance and Neptune and Pisces that really just I found interesting and so damning of the times? Well, I will tell you. That's why you're here. That's why I'm yapping at you. So basically, Neptune and Pisces, when we're talking about reality, disillusionment, cinema, all of that, it gets flavored by the zodiac sign that it's in. And I don't know if you realize it. Neptune and Pisces, that era that we were in, that kind of is over-ish. It lives on. The things we learned then will live on and be a part of our culture forever, but the focus has shifted away from it. So Neptune in Pisces has been a lot about, like, since 2011, we have seen a huge uptick in importance of, like, psychology, mental health, doing, like, an ayahuasca trip, to, like, psychedelics to solve problems. It was all about the mind, because Pisces rules. So Pisces rules the inner deep thoughts of the mind, and it rules inner demons, fears, all of that. It's also a mute sign, and there are all kinds of different zodiac signs, and the word that sticks with me is the word mute. All water signs are mute. What does that mean? It means that they have a lot more going on that they are not so easily able to talk about because of the way that they just exist and function. So your water signs being Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Now, when it comes to, like, talking about themes of a show being about literally splitting your brain into multiple things, first of all, screams Pisces. Why? Pisces is the empath, and Pisces it morphs itself. Pisces is the sign that can really become anything for the moment. It is the mutable water sign, mutable meaning that it finishes things. So literally finishing the zodiac year, but also it's able to morph and bend in moments and be flexible, unlike the other zodiac signs. So our mutable signs, if you aren't aware, because this is just apparently, Astroyappp is also Astrology 101 for y'all. Our mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. These are our most flexible signs. They bend and move and finish things. So in this idea of splitting, like also an empath thing, and the whole idea that the framing was so Neptune and Pisces, that this is about work-life balance, and that you split your brain so you can have work-life balance. Oh my God, they're so empathetic. These people, they're so great. I can't believe they came up with such good technology. It's crazy. And the world was obsessed with it. Like, it felt like the whole world simultaneously just sucked into it. And it was crazy because at the end of a zodiac sign, it's called the anaretic degree. So it's like when you're at the end of summer and you want to go to the beach 1,000 more times before it starts to rain and it starts to be cold and everything. That's like what an anaretic degree is. And that's the 29th degree of a zodiac sign, because zodiac signs span from 1st degree to 30th. Well, 0 to 29 and then new zodiac sign. But 30 degrees total if you're number counting. And so this just felt like, because like at the end of a zodiac sign, they also want to come in and assess what we learned and what there is there. And it showed also the corruption in it. Because the show, I don't know if you realize, if you don't know what you're doing at work, there's an obvious moral problem that, like, oh, you're working at this place, you have no idea what they do, what happens. Like, for example, there would be an injury that occurs on the show, and they would just get a gift card, like, oh, it's this. And then you see on the show, it's absolutely not that. And they're like, yo, that's crazy. But that's so Neptune and Pisces. Pisces can be tentative, very well thought out, taking its time, empathetic, to a point of fault. And so, like, this show where we have these themes, and the show came out during this period of time, and it will continue after this time of Neptune and Pisces. But I think the fact that it was so in our faces during this time, during the end, is just damning proof of, like, wow, these things are really prevalent in our society. Because when we're talking about Neptune, we're talking about society. So there's the outer planets, there's the inner planets, outer planets, personal planets, etc. There's all these names. The inner planets, they move faster and they affect us more. That's why I mentioned at the beginning, Mercury, Venus, Mars. They're our personal planets. They're very close to the Earth in comparison to Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and then Pluto. They're all kind of more long-term. So whereas, like, I believe, a big believe, I think Mercury's in a sign for 10 to 15 days, but it retrogrades so much that it's like, it doesn't feel like that. Venus is in for maybe like 30 more. I'm throwing out numbers, but and then Mars, obviously, because it's longer than our seasons, it's like 40, 45. These are approximate. Don't grill me for not having them exactly. But the idea is they affect us on a more personal level in our day-to-day, whereas these outer planets really affect society more and the trends of society. So, like, that's why we're talking about, like, mental health and getting down to what's going on with the psyche. There was also just, I felt like everyone cared more about psychology during this period of time. I was also quite young when this started. I'm only in my 20s. Feels like I'm leaving tomorrow, but it's not the case at all. But 2011, I was in high school. I was almost in high school. When I was cognitive enough and we were, like, permanently fully in Neptune, because we have retrogrades that push us in and out of zodiac signs, specifically with these outer planets, so it takes a minute for it to permanently be there for a long period of time. By the time it was there, I was in high school. And so, talk about mental health, all of that. I was very involved in high school talking about my mental health, and that was just, it was a different time. And now we have this show that talks about literally splitting the brain to be perfect, which is insane. Like, to have the perfect life, you just split your brain and it'll solve your problems. But it did it. the main character, Mark S., is literally there, and he goes to work, doesn't think about what had happened, and it's no surprise, it's no plot spoiler to know that, like, his wife is dead. You learn that in episode 2 or 3 of season 1. So, like, I'm not worried about it. But he's at home drinking his guts out every night, like, and doesn't want to see his sister or his family. Like, the system doesn't work. And I think the beauty of that is that in Neptune and Pisces, in tearing apart our mindset, the way that we censor ourselves, the way that we like look into the brain for all the answers, and realize it also made us super tentative, and it didn't actually solve the problems. And I think that's beautiful that it shows that kind of corruption in the mindset when it's in this period of time. It feels like we're getting a huge anecdote for the end of this period of Neptune and Pisces. Now, obviously, I said it moved into new Aries. It moved into Aries, a new zodiac sign. What is the significance of that? Because obviously, we're talking about Neptune today, and truthfully, we don't really know what Neptune in Aries is. We can look to the past and see what happened, and it's never really good. The last time Neptune was in Aries was the Civil War, so yeesh. Not a great look. And then the American Revolution. So that's not really something fun to think about or consider. But again, I digress. We're going to look to TV. And for me, I'm recording this. I have just seen the new first episode of season 2 of The Last of Us. And it was fantastic. And the whole thing that, like, astrologers have been talking about is a romanticization of action. Because what is Aries? Aries is chaotic, blunt, it takes action. It rules Mars, the planet of action. And so and it's also it also rules war, both Mars and Aries, because they're ruling. But an idolization, a romanticization of these themes. And, like, I loved The Last of Us season 1, but, like, this season was so good, and I think this show is going to do really well because of the way that our mindsets are shifting. And I think that in having Neptune in certain places, you can glean what's going to be successful during periods of time in terms of, like, the shows that and, like, cinema that is being made. So The Last of Us, it was fantastic. The new episode was great. I was very happy to see that they did things the way they did. It's based off of the second video game. If you haven't played the Last of Us video games and you do play games, what are you doing? You should be playing it. But the show gives you enough, and it's different enough to where it's interesting for anyone to watch, even if you've played the video games. But I think it's just so emblematic of where we are headed. I think the show just feels, and we haven't had any transits to hit Neptune yet. It's just been in the new zodiac sign, so we don't really know what it's going to manifest. But an idolization of action after such a long time of making an analysis out of ourselves, trying to be empathetic and trying to just focus on being a better person, which is not a bad thing. But for us as humans to move forward, we have to be able to take action. And I feel that us as a society, I'm really walking through my words, walking through mud with my words. As a society, we need to be able to do that, to move forward. And I think a show like this is like, reminds us of that, because we watch shows to inspire us. We absorb art to inspire us and to get us to think about our lives. And it's so, like, post-apocalyptic, which feels like it could be us any day. But truly, we've been living like that since World War II, since we invented the nuke. So literally, not crazy to say that. But it's interesting And it feels different watching the show now that, like, things have shifted. So running it back. Neptune in Aries is big change. We are going to feel better doing things. I don't know if you guys haven't felt it already. It feels so much better. Just in general. If you didn't know, I'm going to run you through this as well. The winter sucked because everything was in Pisces. And I'm saying that as someone who has a lot of Pisces in his chart. It sucked. Indecision. Feeling so like you had an emotional weighted blanket over you. I sleep with a weighted blanket, but like still. Like I felt like I couldn't get up and do anything. I had so many ideas, but no execution. And now it's like, all right, Mercury direct. All right, Venus direct. Mars direct. Neptune in Aries. We're moving. And soon, later this week, that's the other thing. We're going to talk about the astrology coming up in this yapping period. Upcoming this week, we have Mars moving into Leo. And we are going, if I'm correct, we're moving to Taurus this weekend, this Sunday. Well, by the time I see you, we will be in Sun in Taurus. The vibes are shifting. Things are going from water to fire. And not that anything's wrong with water, but there's a lot of indecision, and they are a mute sign. So it's hard to say what you need when we're in this place. So we're going to be feeling good. The thing, too, to understand is that everything was in Pisces, and now it's all going into Aries. And these retrogrades made Venus and Mercury go back and forth over Aries and Pisces. Pisces, the sign of the great, great endings, and Aries, the sign of great, great beginnings. They were in a tug of war with themselves. And now that is coming to a close. By May, we're in a different place than we were in March. And like the winter, oh my God. So, yeah, guys, this is going to be fun. I'm excited to yap and talk about this stuff and talk about it in like different ways. Because there's just a lot of like, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to affect you. But like we could talk about so many other more interesting things on this show, Yap podcast. For right now, we're going just audio because that just feels right at the moment. I don't want to fuss and like have like a bad visual and make it an extra step. I want to get out and do more. And that's part of being an Aries is you fuck around and you find out. And that's what like we all have to glean from this is we are fucking around, finding out, you're just doing the thing. You feel like you have all the things inhibiting you in your mind. When it's in Aries, it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. Nobody cares. Just do the damn thing. I remember so funny. It was, there was this meme that came out years ago, and it was like, you can't plug this thing into the wall, and like somebody punches their hand through the wall to get to the plug-in and helps you plug it in. And it's literally like punches through the wall, Aries. And it literally, Aries grabs the electrical plug-in and puts it in the socket. And so like, that's how you have to feel with this new energy. We are getting lit the fuck up. Wherever like your chart is with Aries, you gotta understand that that shit is gonna be loud for a hot minute. And it's not even there. Guys, I've been saying this, and I'm gonna tell you, we're all freaking out about what's going on with the world and the country and everything in between. This ain't even the crazy shit, though. That's the fucked up part. So, like, honestly, tunnel vision. Put the blinders on. Change your life. That's what this is also about. Like, I don't want to just say, I'm going to just talk about whatever this stuff. No, I'm going to say some shit that should get you to feel like you can do something about shit. We're not in the Pisces energy. We're not in that watery bullshit anymore. We are able to make moves and feel good about it. Gone is the time of assessing everything and how you function. It's now time to just do, fuck around, find out, and don't worry about it because it's going to be all okay. What happens if you fuck up? It just turns out that thing probably isn't yours. Or maybe you fuck up in thinking that it wasn't for you, and then you do it anyways, And it turns out it is. And you're like, my life has changed now because of this. This is the attitude we need to have. Fuck around, find out, ask for forgiveness later. That's something I learned when I was working in real estate. Always, like, the whole industry is just like, ask for forgiveness later. Make the move. Oh, run around the back, see if the back door is unlocked, show the apartment, ask for forgiveness later. Like, that kind of shit. Obviously, if it's unoccupied. If it's occupied, that'd be really fucked up. And that's an obvious no. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this yap. I don't know how long this is going. I should honestly run a systems check on how long these things are going. But I just wanted to get this idea out, and I just wanted to start talking and spending some time. I think this is going to be bi-weekly. I'm going to be posting readings every day again. We're going back to that. I'm also going to start offering consultations, which you will see coming up on Instagram too. If you're not following me and you found me on YouTube, I am Wizzy the Hermit. No one can take that from me. That is who I am. And come hang out, guys. Let's talk about astrology, have fun, change our lives, but also just notice how cool this universe is and how wonderful and magnificent it was created for us to enjoy, discuss, and really see how like society moves with it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.